Yep. Not yet. Not seeing us live on Twitch.
G'day, and with Inforunners, I'm Execute. Sorry, I'm just confused by Algared doing this. G'day, I guess. G'day, Algared. Anyway.
Yep. That was
and
telling
he's
us, yes,
Algared.
we're running.
Right, cool. Right. No worries. I hear voices. Oh, is that why you can hear voices? Fuck, that was actually live. They could hear us when we were doing that. Interesting. Wait, you can hear us on this screen?
Ooh.
And then we go there. Ah, but now it's been. All right, I'll have to fix that later. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Right. I'll fix that another time. That's probably another day. Right. You can hear Algared, but you can't hear me. Right. Anyway. Yeah. If you can't tell, I have not had a lot of sleep. I'm still struggling to get this second PC working. It's driving me nuts. But I did get to go in with you and have a look at they've removed the Golem and the Geo. I went to get in with some other people the next day and they were gone. So yeah, that was a bit weird. So yeah. How did you have you didn't get a chance to get back in and try them again, I guess?
No, I didn't. I actually went and visited Pyro for the first time, so that was my gameplay. Flying around Pyro stations, just having a bit of a quick look.
Did you get mugged
before I got dragged away?
Oh, you got dragged away, kicking and screaming. Wow, what did they do to you? Were you kidnapped?
Oh, I just had to, the usual things that one has to do in life. It's just meant my game time got held. But yes, I was in Pyro for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then knocked. And I'll do some more playing around in there in the next few days. So yeah, that's about it.
Trying to get everything up and running here. Hang on, I need a bit of time.
Now, while he's having trouble with this, one side of it is we've actually got our voice on two different channels, which hasn't worked for ages.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why it's fixed, but it was a nice little surprise this morning.
Small victories, that's for sure. Okay. And do it like, oh, I can.
So a bit of a Star Citizen crossover to another franchise. What do you give to this which do you choose to answer? What do you want, or who are you? Answer in chat. What do you want, or who are you?
Right. I think we're the other thing we're having at the moment is there's a bit of daylight saving stuff, so I think that's going to cause some issues too, because we are definitely in a later time in the US at the moment. I think we're starting around about 5 p.m. and we normally, I think we normally start about 4 or 3. So there's probably going to be a few less people. But anyway, we do need to give the Paladin draw as well. That's something
we did forget that
because we forgot that last week. So
we meant to do that right near the end, and we failed.
Yeah. I will get onto this. Give me a second. Sorry, it's very disjointed today. I'm trying to get a lot of things organized. I've been in an absolute rush to get things organized for today, and things are breaking on me as we go. YouTube random content picker. Here we go. So if we flip this over, and then I've got to go to the actual video, which will be channel. It's the tier list one, wasn't it? Which was, I remember it being a Fury. There it is. Yeah. That's
I will agree with our chat. The Twitch is very laggy.
Is it?
A couple of them have said, I'm going to YouTube. This is too slow.
What do you
That is
mean?
very
It's
laggy.
so it's disconnecting. I'm like, yeah. Well, again, remember I
Yeah.
was having streaming problems.
Yep.
I think what's happening is it's essentially the streaming problem I was having at the beginning. I couldn't get the stream settings working correctly. I would have to shut it down and start it up again, which also means I'd then have to go create another one because it deletes the last one. So
Yep.
it would take me like 5 minutes to reset it all. But I can do that if that's what you guys want me to do. I don't believe I can change it on the fly. I'll double check.
But while I remember, the Mech Rider, thank you
Mm.
for that tier 1 sub on Twitch. 4 months worth, so thank you.
So I've just turned it down a little bit from 10,000 to 7,000 bitrate. And yeah, these are because what's happened is because I've installed it on a new PC, it's essentially reset everything. Freaking nightmare. Not that you guys give a shit, obviously, but I am trying to fix it as we go.
Yeah, so if you're a Twitch person and you are wanting to see things without the issue, or if I don't clear up, come across to YouTube and then hit that like button.
I think.
Of course, you know, give us that warm fuzzy feeling for the day.
All right, well let's try and do this real quick. Included replies, advanced options, number of winners 1. So here we go. Accidental friendly fire. The scout also loses the cargo for currently no gain. Personally, I would every time trade cargo in a ship that can't match. So I will see your YouTube. And there's the comment. Reply.
The Venevicious, were you coming from Twitch?
Please reach out. All right. Hopefully we hear back from him because I'm assuming that I in chat.
And we want to also start the bot.
The bot is already up.
Right, just checking.
Yep. Bot questions are already coming in.
Yep.
4 questions
I
already.
can see that now.
Yep. Right. Yeah. This week was mainly the Golem and the Geo, which is also why we did that video because I knew it was going to be a very hot topic at the time.
Yep. But yes, we did cop a lot of caning.
What do you mean a lot of caning?
Oh, a number of comments that say, Golem, Golem, that's not Gollum.
Well, it is clearly a Lord of the Rings reference. And there were a lot of people complaining about that. I even had Pissball Pete messaging me complaining about that. But if you actually think about it, any reference that points to mining or points to anything, you know. So I think it's Golem, precious stones, mining, right? That's the connection, right? But I also see golems are made of clay and stone. That points to mining, right? So there are multiple references.
Either way, it points to mining.
Multiple references makes a good name. So you might not see it as Golem because it's different spelling or whatever, but it's the sound, not the spelling, right? Essentially, what people are complaining about when they're complaining about the spelling, it's like people that have different accents, right? So here in Australia, there's a place called Newcastle or Newcastle, and people will complain to no end about what it's called.
Melbourne and Melbourne.
Yeah, because people say, yeah, that's a really good example.
Or Canberra.
Because you can tell a non-Australian person because of the way they say Melbourne. Because they'll go Melbourne, and the B is really, really quiet.
Where we go, Melbourne.
Melbourne. Yeah, it's not born, it's been. We almost say it like it's been. So just as an example. Anyway, we're getting into semantics here, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? As long as it's as long as you understand why we're saying it, it doesn't matter. I don't care if I say gloopy gloopy gloop and you understand what that means. It means nothing.
I get where they're saying with the Golem reference because the two words are different. Right? They are two different things.
So I've had this. My mum's an English teacher, right? And I had this argument with her, and she lost, right? Because the other members of my family agreed with me, and it was essentially, she was always correcting people, grammar Naziing, all that type of thing, telling people how to say certain words. And I said, it does not matter how someone says it, and as long as you understand what they're saying. I said, because if you know someone that's Chinese and you're struggling to communicate with them and you're talking in body language, that's a communication tool, right? And as long as you understand what I'm saying, when you start nitpicking people, that sucks. If they are asking you to improve their language, that's different. But when it's never asked for,
Although I agree with what you're saying, but two words being totally different things, yes, I get where people are coming from. But as we've said, both have that link to mining. Now, I saw the name, and I naturally thought Lord of the Rings. Now I know golems, Jewish mythology, taken as in the myth, what the Jews would do is they create these creatures out of clay, just like humans in biblical texts were made out of clay, and then they'd imbue them with life with magic, and it was the human things trying to become like God. And so in Jewish mythology, that's what golems are. In typical fantasy, though, golems are made out of metal and flesh and bone and name it, and become the automatons that guard things or whatever. But the fact that the golem is a miner, and as well the fact that Gollum in Lord of the Rings lives in the caves and mines, I naturally thought of this small vehicle is going to be great for going into tight places like caves to mine. And that's why I was thinking Gollum, as in Lord of the Rings. Even though the name is spelled totally different. So, but yeah.
I'm having trouble.
But either way, we thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. As I said, if you can get a reference out, you can get a reference out. And I know some people won't see it that way, and that's totally fine. There are multiple references, as you pointed out. But other than the trivial shit we just got called into, what is your, if you have any more thoughts on the ship, so to speak, the Geo and the, I guess we should probably ask chat that too, like about the jetpack stuff, because I think that's going to have broad reaching ramifications. And no matter what I do, I can't get this to work.
The jetpack certainly has reaching. Well, waiting for the chat to come in their thoughts. I like the jetpack because it has far-reaching implications for combat down the line. I think it has, but I also think it has far-reaching implications for EVA mining or EVA activity in those mixes. And I think that ties in, and I think I even said it in the episode, that to me really makes me think of a Ripley salvage loader or cutter be used, that could be used for salvage, and that would be the perfect little vehicle or ship or suit for a reclaimer, and it would tie closer in with what the way they described it as being kind of a way they kind of wording was kind of a mix between suit / ship, and that would be a nice blend between the two. So
I actually just got everything working, so I'm really happy now. I think we're good. I think I can relax now. So the stupid level should improve. Sorry, I feel like I've been like a half doing one thing and half doing the other. So I've clearly got that male mind thing where my mind's not working properly. So the other thing, the title of this episode, I had this someone asked me this as a question before last week's stream, and I actually have a sticky note here. Look, it's not gonna help. It's not gonna work because it's great. Oh wait, favorite elevator, right? I had that there, so I can delete. I can throw that away now, right? And someone asked me like, "What's your favorite elevator on a ship in game?" And I went, "Whoa, that's kind of. I've never been asked that before." And so it was sticking up there, and I thought, well, I need a title for the show. Why don't I just make it the title of the show? So that's the question I also want to put to chat. Think about all the elevators in game. Obviously, all the ones in game are bugged, but I mean the ones on ships, and what is your favorite elevator on a ship? And there are quite a lot. And I started to realize like there's heaps, because some ships, like if you look at the Carrack alone, the Carrack's got 11 elevators. They're all kind of the same, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? So let's go through. Wait, one. I'm just reading. What do you want? Money? Who am I? Poor. Right. Sorry, I'm reading. I'm gonna stop reading chat.
It's because I asked a cross franchise question.
Right.
Was what do you want or who are you? If you know the reference.
I don't know the reference. Do you want to fill us in?
You are a Philistine.
That's all right.
Let's see if the chat knows the reference.
I've got proof you're a terrorist, so it's all good. Yeah. What was the reference?
I'll see if chat knows. I'll give chat a chance to answer.
Okay. All right.
Where did it come from?
Someone said the void. Does that mean anything?
No, not the void.
Are you talking about Algared's head, the space between his ears? I agree. Anyway. Okay. So yeah. So that's what I'd like to hear in the questions, but maybe we should take a question, Algared, because I need to move on to some stuff. So
right. So in answer to your question, franchise I was referring to was Babylon 5. So the Shadows would ask, what do you want? And the Vorlon would ask, who are you? So you had these two types of questions. And for what do you want was kind of a greed aspect. The who are you is kind of the light-sided.
You'll have to excuse Algared. He's very old. He likes to talk about things like Charlie Chaplin and those really old things.
Babylon 5 is not that... Well, actually, it is quite old now, sadly.
Algared, remind me how many of the cast members are alive again?
Shut up. It's just that the show is cursed.
Yeah, sure, man. Sure. They're all. I think there's one alive. Like they're all dead or some shit or like that. It's crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole pile of them that have passed. But
all right, Veneficus says question. Looks like we'll be gaining the ability to obtain a Polaris in game. Will these go to our hangars or be subject to wipes? They'll be subject to wipes 100%. It'll be just like other ships that have come out, like the executive ones that we've had in the past and stuff like that. It's just a temporary bonus for testing. They're giving you testing rewards essentially.
And thank you, Jock Cop, for coming in after I said it was Babylon 5, telling us it was Babylon 5.
Yeah, well, it's delayed to him. To him, it was like right on the money. He was right in there.
Yeah, he was right on the money. That's right. Yeah.
Would you agree with that though, Algared? The most of the ships
absolutely.
In game,
like anything you buy in game is subject to wipe.
Yeah, but they're essentially Polaris in game. You can earn them as rewards, so it's the same thing with the rewards, not just purchasing them. Yeah, they'll get wiped. All right. We don't have any questions, so please get some in if you've got some, especially if you've got ones about the Geo. Let us know about your favorite elevator and things like that as well, because again, that's how the stream works. If the questions run out, we close up. And anyway, Socially Confused says, do you think the Geo will be put in the in-game store as fast as the base Atlas, and what will it cost in the website? That is one thing we did talk about. It's kind of interesting because you got to look at the ROC DS, and again, let's just flick it over and actually have a look at this stuff then. So let me pull this up. We have ROC. What is it? ROC Star Citizen.
ROC DS. In terms of pricing.
Well, the DS is more expensive, so it'd be ROC. Wiki.
And you've got the Atlas.
The Atlas is $30, and this was $50 War Bond or $55. So you're looking at between those. So what is that? 35 to 50, somewhere in there. I think that a safe bet would probably be 45 to 40. I think
I could see them doing a $50 pricing it exactly like the ROC, because it is a thing. Because essentially it's a vehicle.
Yeah, but it moves heaps slower. I honestly think that they're going to probably be a bit more generous, and it'll be $10. My instinct's telling me it's about 40, just based on the fact that the Atlas is 30. But if they want to put a lot of Titan suits out there, it could be as low as only $5 difference.
Yep. The other thing is when you're looking at the ROC versus the Geo, how much cargo can they carry? What's the difference in the amount they can carry? That I don't know the answer to. Yeah. But if they carry exactly the same load, then that's going to push for That's going to push the geo up closer to the rock, I think.
I
But other than that, I would agree
was
with what you're saying.
I was listening to Paul, and he's actually found a thing about I can't remember who the company was, but it's a Zeus Titan suit. So they actually are using the Titans' names. They're just doing it. So the ATLS is Atlas, obviously, which he carried the world on his back. Zeus is the kind of the combat lightning one. And he was even saying things like he's expecting Gaia and all that, like we were talking about for medical and stuff like that. So the ATLS has a crew of 1, 0 SCU. The crew SC on this is 0.8. That thing only the Geo only carries quarter SCU cargo containers. So technically, it is smaller than this.
Yep.
So I think that leads into it being cheaper.
That does lead it into it being cheaper. A, because it's slower.
Yeah.
It's less cargo as well. So you've got those two factors that are going to pull it down, pull the price down closer to the.
I think you would agree that the Titan suits are generally lower down a priority order than a vehicle. They're a different class. Like, so I'm not saying they're worse. They're more humanized.
Yeah, they're a different class. Like I said, if it was the same cargo capacity, I'd have been pushing it up towards the rock. The fact that it's lower pulls it back down towards the Atlas, which is a good thing. And we know the Atlas sold like hotcakes. I think this one looks way cooler. Even that jumping, that is just awesome. And in fact, translates also to EVA.
So someone was telling me that added jetpacks to this one. And then I was again talking with Paul, and apparently it's not jetpacks. It stops you from falling.
Okay, little retros.
So it lends even more credence to what you and I were talking about, like the parachute thing. So you could literally have one, and it just stops before you hit the ground. It goes, and then you land type of thing. So yeah. But again, it really depends how many of these Titan suits they want to do, and the price. And I think already look at this one. Already this one at $40 is kind of, I think that's a bit expensive for what it is. But again, like I my hope that it's like $40-$45, like the same price, because it really is kind of a side grade. It's not that much on top. And again, if you think about it, if they make it 45, people upgrade. If they make it 40, people have to buy a whole new one. And they are more likely to do that because it's very cheap anyway. By comparison to when it's a whole, well, like what they did with the Vulture and the Fortune. That's a lot more to spend than, that's like 175.
And even if it's not a chassis upgrade from the Atlas to the Geo, if people want the Geo, they'd melt their Atlas and then buy the Geo with cash and credits. So, but yeah, I really would like to see it at the same price, just because it's great. And I think, but if it's down low, 40, 45, they're going to sell it crap ton, because that is way cool. And I'd love to see those kind of jets on the put onto the Atlas as well, just because it's so cool. But hey, can't have everything.
People on Twitch, can you tell me if it's improved for you at all? Please just let me know in chat if it's improved the quality, because I did turn the bitrate down, and I'm hoping that has made a little bit of difference for you guys over there. If it has not, please let me know, and I will attempt to correct if that is.
I will say that Dirks, the Fenner 84, you are showing you are way old school. I personally thought about stone golems from EverQuest. That is way old school. But yes, old stone golems from EverQuest, they were pretty nasty. And of course, no EverQuest, you also are aware of Old Man Hurston's drink, Evercrack. See Paulie for your free sample. Second sample costs twice as much. More. Evercrack. Old Man Hurston's drug of choice.
I don't think he didn't do it. He hasn't added it to Hangerlink yet. I was going to pull it up on Hangerlink and see if we could have a look at it, but we don't have it. I wonder if we actually have some Star Citizen
Now, while you're looking at that, Socially Confused says maybe the rock would be better in harsher environments. And that reminds me of something I thought it was John or one of the vehicle teams said they want to look at enclosing those Baroque, the DS to make them safer. And if that's the case, then an enclosed cab on the rock certainly will do that.
Oop. Not very big, that one. God, you can't not see the cutter when you look at that one, though, can you? It just looks like a cutter with a cab smashed on the front.
Well, you remember as we were coming out from a hangar and going and approaching it, because of the way it gets positioned in the hangar, you're approaching from rear, and I said that is a cutter. Oh, that's a cutter variant. It was my comment. You cannot from the rear. It is a full. That back section is full on cutter.
Okay, so you're still having trouble on Twitch.
No, Red Marine, we have not yet reached the price. Well, we're still talking about the Geo.
Well, and we're talking about the golem. I've got pictures up of the golem.
Yeah, we're just starting to talk about the golem now.
It's a really weird, contentious point because people look at it at price and a whole bunch of different things like that. So it's yeah. Just give me a second, Algared. Just got to try and turn this down for people on Twitch. So I'm gonna literally go to half it was when we started. So this is actually gonna turn the quality down by quite a bit. So I've just gone to 5,000. So let me know if that it kind of fixes it for you guys. So yeah. I will say the megabytes per second is jumping a little bit all over the shop for Twitch, but yeah, I apologize for that. DM just something if you want. Thank you, Grim. Appreciate it. What'd you send me?
Citizen John, apparently on Twitch, started a watch streak. Never seen one of those before, but there you go.
Can I
watch a fourth one this month?
Can I open this in? Nope, I cannot. I'm gonna have to add that. Hang on. We're gonna have to do it live. Add media source. Okay, we're gonna set to loop. We're gonna browse. We're gonna go to what Grim sent us, and we click apply and go okay. It's gonna pop in the background. Hold your breath, Algared. Hold your breath. We're choking. All right, we're back. All right, oh, so close. We almost died. Right. So yeah, Grim's got that all rendered off. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, like I talked about this with Grim on his stream as well. It's a tough one. I have to think that it's definitely cheaper. One, Drake is usually cheaper than Misk, right? But if you kind of take that away and they're basically the same, because I've got to look at it like the Prospector, the Fortune and the Vulture. Same features, same internals type of thing. But this does not have the internals. So when you go from 155, my initial price is still the same thing I talked about on the video. I'm hoping it's somewhere between 125 to 145. I'd love it to be heaps cheaper because it's smaller, but I just don't think that's going to be the case. I just can't. Like, size does not dictate price to me, and I think we've got many things that prove to that. Right? Why is a fighter up to $300, but then it's as cheap as 25?
Yep. And my thought was, the fact that all of its components are outside. That means if you want to repair anything, you've got an EVA to do it, or you've got to be landed to do it. It really does put it into that fighter category. And so I would hope it would be, again, as I thought, $100 would be the what I'd like, $90, $100 around there. But again, because it does the same as the Prospector, in terms of cargo, you've got to get dragged up, and that's that kind of yin yang problem. And we've got a Jock Cop super chat. So thank you for that. And he says, did you see the concierge email about the LA studio?
So I'm gonna open that. Hang on. No, we did not see the email, but me and Algared knew about it well in advance.
Yep.
We've known about this since CitizenCon. So yeah, we knew that they were closing. They told us it was going to be closing in July, so it's actually closing earlier than I suspected. Yeah, but basically, like you can see already, most of the people have essentially moved to Manchester. They're I don't know. Can we actually talk about that yet? About what kind of happened with COVID and then after COVID? Do you remember?
I think we've talked about it in the past.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we can.
Yeah. So long story short, after COVID, they learned that they really need to kind of be not as spread out. They need to be kind of more together to get shit done. And so that's why I think people like David Haddock. I'm pretty sure that it's why some people left the company. Like possibly that might be why Tony left, because he didn't want to leave Texas and they really wanted him over in Manchester. So this whole switching around and leaving of people, you can see the trail of why it's happened, because they really wanted everyone together. And they figured the best place to do that was where already most people were, which was Manchester. And so they've clearly upgraded the studio, made a bigger one, and then moved everyone into it. You can see what's been happening now over the last couple of years and why so many people have been coming and going.
But then the other thing that goes in with that, when you've got the LA studio, it's not just the LA studio programmers and art teams. You've also got your support teams, your front office, your cleaning, your IT department, and so there's a whole pile of those things that pile into that. And so by reducing that, you reduce your staffing costs in terms of having to employ or get a cleaning agent to come in and clean. You save on your landscape or your footprint in terms of real estate, and it makes it easier to communicate with staff and solve problems.
So it also sounds like we're getting this as an in-game item, from what I'm reading here in the email, as a homage to the closing of the studio. Hustle Bones was asking, Tony Z left. Yeah, there's a thing on the website that I can't remember. It's some kind of Latin name or Roman name. And essentially,
basically an emeritus. He's a
retired in memoriam or something like that, like retired in honors or something like that. But that's basically, they never kind of announced it because obviously they don't want any big fanfare, because they know people will complain because Tony Zervek's hold in really high esteem. But if he's retired, that's his own call. So yeah, I think that's the first time I've ever seen the outside shot of the LA studio. I don't think I've ever seen it from the outside, not in any of the videos. Anyway, so yeah, before Jock Cop, yeah, have a great stream. See you, Grim. Have fun with fam. We were talking about this, and someone asked the question. I'm trying to remember where the question was. I have to scroll back up now. The mining head is extreme. Is bespoke. Now, I don't think we can confirm it's bespoke, because I've seen other vehicles that look bespoke in the PTU, and then it comes out and they're not. So unless you've got an actual link, who said that? Chris with the little yellow icon, yellow one icon. If you've got a link, I will read it, but I have not seen any information personally that says it's bespoke. But it looks like it's bespoke in the PTU. I will give you that. But until it actually comes out, because again, I think that would change the price as well. And possibly make it, because if you can't change things, but generally when they give you stuff in the PTU, they're rented a lot of sometimes, so they basically, you can't change some of the things. Yeah.
But even if it is bespoke,
sorry.
Even if it is bespoke, one of the things that you noted was that it's got two component attachments, so you can attach the kind of upgradey type things, the little doobie watsits to improve the efficiency.
But some mining heads have three as well, so
yeah.
But I'm just assuming that for now, because it's on the PTU, and I think it was kind of accidentally put out there in a lot of ways, because it was up for one day and then the next day it was gone.
Yep. So Shady Phase E says it was. They said it was bespoke in the video.
What video? They didn't show.
Probably the ISC that they may have put out,
But
which
this wasn't in the
today, which we probably haven't seen.
Are you talking about for the Is he talking about the Geo? I thought he was talking about the about this, because they don't talk about this in the ISC video. Unless I missed the entire video, a section of the video. Have I closed
That's
that
possible.
video?
Could have
Have I
fallen asleep.
closed that video early and missed a whole heap of shit?
You probably did.
Let's have a look. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about the. There's nothing. All right, what video are you talking about? They said it was Shady Face. What video are you talking about? I'm really confused. You've confused me, sir. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm mistaken.
He says I'm mistaken.
My bad. Because the other thing is they did talk about how they're adding more tier 0 lasers for the Geo. And I found them in the stores. They were in the store on the PTU. You could actually buy. They wouldn't switch over yet, but there was ones there that you could buy that were tier 0. And they previously have not been tier 0 ones. So as I said, like you could... The fact that the Geo couldn't swap over, it's the same thing to stand that this was bugged or whatever and this couldn't swap over. So they're just like, and it was the same thing when the Atlas went in. There was certain things with the Atlas that was broken. Sometimes when they appear on the PTU, they're in, but they're not fully functional. And I think at some point someone accidentally put the Geo out and accidentally put this out because it was showing the very next day, the very next patch, they were both gone.
I could go by that, or they'd put them out and they got enough information out of them to go say, yep, they're good, they're working, they're popular, excellent, Smithers, excellent.
I saw somewhere mention though that I think it was in the video they mentioned that they're putting more size 0 lasers in for the Geo. So yeah, I think the Geo is going to be the patch ship, essentially the 4.1 patch ship. I think this is coming at Workers Week.
Yep.
I think that's kind of the plan. I think it is going to be, regardless of the price, I think it is going to kind of be very popular because it's just different from MISC. And
yep.
apparently,
I agree. I think it's gonna be popular because it looks cool. It does look visually nice. It does have. I know the front it makes you go Argo, but when you're coming from the rear, that whole rear section is a straight up Cutlass chop. It is almost a jalopy of blending of, from a junkyard joining a Cutlass, a cutter and an Argo rock or something together.
So this is the sneak peek. I just got the email from this week's, and that's the sneak peek. I think they're a little late to the party, but that's clearly the Banu buildings and stuff. And the message says, there it will be evergreen. So yeah. So a bit of a light sneak peek this week. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I like when me and Grim talked about this, we both really like it. Like it's just different. And I think for Drake people, like I think even you yourself said that Drake is some of the most popular ships in the entire game. And I think just having a different, you can almost see why they've decided to do some double ups because they know they're gonna sell more. Just because if they picked A, someone else might pick B. It's that simple. But if this comes out at the same price, I think it's a bit of a worrying trend, just because it's so much less functionality from losing the interior. But yeah, it does have some pros as well. I was telling you, when we were on Grim's stream, we were literally looking at images of other people and testing. And the deck underneath the Polaris, so like where the cargo goes, you could fit 6 of these. And we didn't fully test it up top, but you could at least fit 4. So there's at least, you could potentially put 10 in just a Polaris, which is crazy because you can only put 1 prospector in a Polaris. So that's
and that gives you a lot more mining capability. But as some people say, I did see in the chat from a video, some people were saying one of the differences is this only has 1 shield, whereas the prospector has 2, which means when you're up close mining to a rock and you overcharge the rock, you're more chance of damaging yourself. So it does lend into that Drake idea of overcharging, overbuilding, more risk. So So, there are safety issues you may want to consider, especially with regen tech playing up at the moment.
That is one area I didn't look into, was the component. So that may be where I need to look into, because there might be some things like this as extra fuel or something like that. I'd have to look into it. But yeah, that's something I'm gonna have to look into when they come out. I just didn't have time. Like, we only had one day, so I didn't have a lot. I just wanted to get out and see how it mined. I wanted to look for the obvious changes, not the component stuff. And that's usually more your domain than mine. So, and again, you didn't get a chance to even get in and look at it.
I didn't really have a chance to really look at it. Socially Confused did say the bespoke, it comes from the text in the leaked info. And then a bit further up, someone else says,
again, I think the bespoke makes it has to be cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, if it's bespoke, definitely cheaper.
Yeah.
And if the components are smaller or less, that again is going to bring the price down, because CIG in themselves
absolutely agree.
said
like I said in the video that we did, was it yesterday or was it? Oh God, I can't remember now.
Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. So 2 days ago. Well, it was for us, not for these guys. So that's the other thing. Because you and I, it was very late at night. I hope that this is around $100. That's kind of my hope. I would love to see it as a cheaper miner alternative to kind of suck people in. And I think they do need, like I was, as I said to you, when the Fortune came out to the Vulture and they were the same, I was kind of a bit disappointed that they weren't different enough. And I think this, just not having the exterior is enough to say there's a difference. But if it's exterior and components, that's great. Because I think you want that, you want player choice, but you want variety as well. And there's not enough variety between the Fortune and the Vulture, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I like the idea, like even just on the shields idea, and I know that was from the chat. Someone said this has one shield, the Prospect has two. And CIG have said the components you have on the ship is going to determine the cost. So if it's got less components, that's going to pull the price down, as you've said. I was hoping, I when we're looking at price, that it has to be more than a cutter, because that's the absolute dead end cutoff.
Yeah.
It does more than a cutter, so it's going to be higher.
Yeah. I think the real safe ballpark is it's essentially what was it 45? So it's that came out at 50. It was 60. So it'd be like 65 to 145. That would be,
that'll be the ballpark, and I really hope it's
utter gamut of what this could be.
Yeah.
But I think it's got to be more towards the prospector and less towards the cutter, personally.
Yeah, I think that's right, and that's why I think 90 to 100 would be ideal.
Yeah.
Again, that's me living on hope.
Well, the other thing is, essentially, we know because again, we learned this from John and Ben, is things that have their gameplay, they automatically kind of go up in price. So that's why all the combat ships cost more. We always wondered what the combat tax was, and it was because the gameplay was already there. Well, mining's already there, so this is going to be already kind of up. So it kind of just goes in and it works. So it's already out. So it's already going to have that. It's essentially already got the price increase. Kind of like when you've seen ships come out and they get that functionality and the price goes up.
And then the price jumps.
Yeah.
This has already got that. So it goes straight to that point.
Yeah. But I am looking forward to finding out how the refining stuff works. And this is in the cargo and stuff, because it is very interesting how that's done. But I think it just fits better into normal ships. So I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. I think the fact that it looks like a box container, it fills up, drops off, and that's going to get, because it's more like that. It seems like it'll fit better into ships.
Yep.
And that will possibly give it greater versatility. Other question I've got is, could you actually store a regular cargo pod in there, not do mining, but have a regular cargo pod in there and cover stuff? So
like a cargo there.
Yeah,
you might have hit nail on head, sir. That's a good idea. So it's essentially like a mini raft for Drake. That's not a terrible idea.
And you were actually saying it has this kind of raft type
makes
geometry as well. So, and if you got your nozzle up there, and then the box has the nozzle clinked in, but if you're just carrying a cargo pod,
it is kind of like a flying mule, isn't it? So maybe we do get a variant of it down the road. Yeah.
So, or even if that can just carry the boxes anyway, and if it's carrying boxes, you can't.
Well, here's something for you. Can it, because they're two 16 SCU cargo containers, can it carry a single 32 SCU cargo container? See where
Yeah.
I'm going? Like that
Now,
is
if it can do
something that we
that, if
need.
it's a mining ship, it could carry, you could carry a cargo box. That raises that through the roof.
Yeah.
And that would make it so versatile. People are
Yeah.
not.
So if it's
Yeah.
not just like if it's not just mining, but you could also use it for transporting cargo, that's something I didn't even think of. Because that puts it in a totally different league over the prospector. So that's the advantage it gets, where the prospector has the expandable bag, so it can almost do double, but
Yeah.
it's gonna have someone to pick them up. That
Now,
kind of
and the
takes
other
and
thing,
giveth away.
and then the other thing is, we know the prospector has a filtering system, so it filters a lot of the inert material out. Does this
Yeah.
filter the inert material out? And so
Yeah.
that could be another balancing routine that they
Yeah.
use with that as well. So there's,
Yeah.
and that's stuff we don't know yet.
Yeah, so Chris in chat is just asking, yes, Chris, they are two 16 SCU cargo containers. It's exactly the same SCU as the Prospector, but the Prospector does it with 4 8 saddlebags or 4 8 SCU saddlebags. This does it with two 16
Yep.
Drake mine. What they call them? It's in the. It says somewhere Drake mining bags that work with any compatible Drake mining whatever system. It's something words to those effect. Paul was talking about it yesterday on his stream because he found some law stuff on it.
But as you pointed out, they're basically square boxes, just
Yeah.
look like they're square. You got the square box frame that it
Yeah.
fits in, and then the guts is in the middle.
Yep. So
And
again,
if it's a standard box size, then
it could be
why can't I
amazing.
lock a?
Yeah, it could be really, really amazing if that's what. Because the other thing I start to think of is, could you technically do a salvage variant too? Like, essentially you change all the mining equipment up on the top, and it becomes a salvage variant. That's totally possible as well. So then all of a sudden you've got a smaller
salvage vessel
that's smaller than the Vulture as well. That's oh god.
Again.
Yeah.
Again, one of those. We did see the cutter as being, an ideal size for the salvage vessel for the reclaimer. Could a salvage version of this be a reclaimer thing? I wouldn't see it being the gifted one or the one that comes with it, but
well, it's kind of like how you and I have talked about in the past, like different tech levels, right? So again, even if you look at the raft, I would say Argo is more of a medium tech level. This is a low tech level. So you need ships for both areas. Like Stanton to Pyro Stanton's more medium, and Pyro's more low end. So I would say this more likely in Pyro. So you do want to have ships that kind of fit the feel. And then there's this crossover middle ground where the two, if you've got two big planets essentially, or two big systems, in the middle, you'd be getting people from each one. But then as you further go into the other, you might see one of these ships in that system, and then heaps of the other. But you get what I mean? It kind of shows, that we must be near a system that's got those ships.
Yep.
So
certainly the high tech ones you'll see more.
Exactly.
There must be greater support for these high tech ships.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've got credence for this across the board in how they're doing. The one you and I always talk about is the hand trolleys versus drones versus tractor beams. So they're the 3 levels. Trolleys being low, drones kind of being the high because it's all automated and it does it for you, and then the tractor beams kind of in the middle. So if you start to think of that as across ships as well, and other things, you can start to see we're probably gonna. This is our low end miner. MISC, I think. Would you say it's starting to get towards the high end? I don't know. I haven't really thought about MISC in that way.
I would think I would put MISC at the higher end just because that is their, Musashi Industrial.
And again, we've got the mole, so that would be the middle ground. So I've at least got one for each tech level at the moment. But I would expect that they would almost come back and probably do that at each size as well. So you'd have 3 small, maybe only 2 medium. I don't know what it's going to do. I'd assume right at the top it'll only be the 1. There may be 2, 3, 4. I don't know. More as you go down smaller. Like in real life, there's more. There's more skateboards than there are cars, and then you're going to go, right? So the bigger you go, you get all the way up to something like a Tesla rocket, or what's not a Tesla rocket, a SpaceX rocket. So there's only the 1.
And the other thing to remember is, you look at real life. You look at a farm, and you'll see farms with you'll see farms. They won't just have John Deere. There'll be different manufacturers for the tools that they have that they want to use. So having the different ships for different roles or different functions, I can see, legitimate companies having a whole swag of different ships just for the sake that they give it deals with certain situations. So,
For a quick question, just so it says you can fit 2 to 3 prosters and flyers. Can you just correct me? Right, is that in the hangar or also down underneath as well? So just let me know. John Shave says literally the only second industrial ship from an industrial manufacturer, but that's based, and he's correct, based on where it laid on that thing, the grid thing they did. It's an industrial manufacturer. You only have the Vulture and this, so there's obviously a lot more to come from Drake. So yeah, that's I think everything we talked about today, from like a raft variant or a salvage variant, I would totally believe that. Because
yeah.
this does look like an industrial platform. And again, much like how the Rambler worked and it had
Mm-hmm.
those tanks on top, you can kind of see things to that effect on top of this. So, and much like how the little fins on the back of this, like the Drake cutter, I could say that see them changing some style cues across the board, things
Yep.
across the top. So where the whole laser is across the top there, that changes from a laser to essentially a tractor beam scraper,
Yep.
just like that they did on the Prospect of the Fortune. You see where I'm going with this, right?
Yep.
And then when you have the cargo carrying variant, maybe they just put massive fuel tanks up there so it can go further, or maybe they do something ridiculous like make it longer so it can carry 3
Yep.
crates. Or you could see where I'm
Yeah,
going with it.
and I like the idea of it that Drake have finally stopped trying to get military it seems like Drake have gone, we're never going to get the military contracts. We're new kids on the block.
Yeah.
Let's go with our strength. We're in a salvage yard. Let's go with our strength and do the industry vehicles. Let's go with where our bread and butter really is, rather than keep trying to break into that military market with the Cutlass and the Buccaneer and the
Right, so
and the
yeah,
Kraken.
just right was saying too that currently the normal 16 SCU cargo boxes don't snap to GOM. That doesn't mean that they won't, or again, it might be a variant. But bloody hell, it'd be cool if it did.
Yep, it would definitely be cool if I did.
Yeah.
And my question is, if I can't, why not?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, because again, I think because they're considered saddlebags, so it's probably
yep,
they're not cargo. So I think
yep.
if they do a variant, maybe that's the case, like a raft-like variant. Because that'd be interesting. So it's just a hangar. All right, so 3 prospectors in the hangar. Still, that 3 compared to 10 is a vast difference fitting in the Polaris. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is, I don't know. Let's do a poll. Why not? We haven't done a poll in a while. I haven't done one in a while, so let's do a poll. Do we want to make it as simple as, are you getting I can either do you like the golem, or are you going to purchase a golem? Because they're 2 very different things. So what if let's do that. How do you like the golem?
How much do you like the call?
I'm buying one. I like it. And then the last option will be is I hate it. I hate it. I think that solves it. Yeah, that's pretty fair way to ask it.
Yep. I'm in the middle of buying one, and I like it because I really, really like it. I would like to buy one, but at the moment I can't. But that's where I'd be. I'd buy one if I could.
To pull it out to start the poll. Now I'm gonna have trouble getting it back. You know how that goes. Right. Then I'm gonna do one over here. So /poll on Twitch. So how do you like the golem? Do you like?
And of course the question of buying, is that impacted by price? Like, at what point do you say no, I'm not buying?
Now you're making it harder, Algared. I can't put 2.
Hey, I just thought of that. Like if it's $150, does that change your view?
Well, they can't answer that in the poll, Algared.
No.
So that would be I like it because, well, again, that's why I asked it that way. So if you don't care about the price, you'll buy it regardless. If you're not sure, it's just I like it, and then and then I hate it.
Can't vote for Met, so I'll say I like it.
Yeah. All right, there we go. It's up on Twitch as well. So I like it is at 44% on YouTube. I'm buying ones at 41%. So yeah, so I think the price is a factor. I think some people are going to wait on the price. I hate it is 16%. And that's right. I'm going to tell you right this. Like I did say that we said that from the outset, didn't we, Algared? There are going to be people that just don't like Drake, and that's their prerogative. Twitches, I like it. Yeah, it's pretty much similar on par on Twitches as on YouTube. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see how that
Yeah, we
shakes
got
out.
3 votes on Twitch.
Oh, that because it's because the Twitch people are big drinkers. I think they don't do a lot of voting. I'll try and motivate.
No,
them.
it's because
Poke
Twitch
them
has
with a
been
stick.
playing up, so there's hardly any people there, I think.
35 people. 35 people watching.
35 people being stubborn. Yeah. Well, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to keep tabs on our chat. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But all right, let's go on to another question, Algared.
Yep.
I think we've probably. Right. Unless there's anything else you can think of to talk about this week.
No.
We'll move on.
Certainly with the Drake column, I do like it. I do like the feel. I do hope it's cheaper than, I do hope it's around 100 post rather than pushing up higher. Question before we move on from Rhea Shonen says, how close to the Aurora is the Golem in size? Now, that's something we didn't look at.
I didn't have a chance to do that with Grim. We did look at a lot of ships, but the cutter is technically bigger than the Golem.
Yep.
So that's the best I can give you. Actually, well, what we can do is I can't do Aurora to Golem, but I can do Aurora to cutter. So let's do that, huh?
Yep.
So that would be the next best thing, because I have seen screenshots of and I've done it myself in game, cutter versus Golem, and the cutter is clearly.
And we did look at the Golem versus the Prospector, and it was easily half the size of a Prospector.
What do you say? Cutter. And the cutter versus the Aurora. And we'll just go the LN. Yeah, I'd say they're probably similar in size. In fact, I'd probably say it's a little shorter. From memory, it's 16 meters long. When I was talking with Grim, I could be sadly mistaken on that, but that's what I remember it being. So, yeah. And the other one I'll add in here was the Buccaneer. It was very similar to the Buccaneer. The Buccaneer was a little shorter. And again, see, the Buccaneer is 15 meters. So I think that kind of confirms,
gives you an idea.
Yeah, confirms it for me. It is, because it's 16. It was like a meter longer. So yeah, you can kind of see about the width of this, but a bit longer than this. So I know it's.
I did hear someone saying that it doesn't fit into Carrick because it's too high.
Yeah.
And most an Aurora fits into fits into a Carrick because it's so low, so you can actually get it in. Bit of a squeeze, but you can actually get one in sitting on the landing pad properly. But because it's lower, you can actually close it. But most of the other smaller ships in that size just don't fit because they're just too high.
Yeah.
Don't forget, if you are putting a question, do put the word question somewhere, because it does not look like it's picking up marks.
No, it doesn't pick up question marks. You've got to have question in your question.
You've just got to put questions somewhere.
Do you imagine how many questions would come through to us that weren't for us if it was just question marks? Like, we get enough coming through when other people type the word question to each other. So, yeah.
Your question is a good question.
Yeah.
No, we don't need to talk about that.
So there's 2 here that I actually missed. North End Trib asks, do you think CIG will create some caves that are designed for the Atlas Geo or Rock? Absolutely, eventually. Yeah. I think the other advantage of it is there's vehicles that, let's just take the cutter, for example, right? The cutter, maybe I'm putting my horse on, okay, that's not a good example. But there are certain, let me think of one. The Avenger, I can definitely think of that one. The Avenger, you can't put a rock in, but you will be able to put an Atlas in it. You get where I'm going with this, right? So some of those smaller starting ships. I was going to say cutter, but I'm not sure if I haven't actually tried to put a rock in a cutter, so I can't say it does or not. But I can definitely confirm a geo fit in a cutter. And it'll fit on the cargo grid, so it'll essentially snap there. So yeah.
And I know the Atlas fit in my cutter. But it didn't fit in my Avenger, I don't think.
Yeah. So Zarek Master just said, FYI, the Golem is almost exactly the same. So I think I'm assuming he's meaning height here, because obviously you've got a bit of extra length because of the cab. But he's basically saying, FYI, the Golem is almost exactly the size of a 32 SEU cargo container, just half an SEU taller. That makes sense from the video that you see there. If you essentially just add the cab on, the width of the engines, because it's essentially like they've dropped a 32 SEU cargo container and built the entire ship around it. So yeah, it's going to sell very well, because it's again, that's what they do very well. Very simple but very efficient, Drake. And I think the main reason, as I said to you in the video, or what I say to you a lot, is because it is closest to today, and it's that very expanse vibe. I think a lot of people pick up on that. So yeah.
Now I'm gonna go with one of the questions. It's kind of picking up someone else's comment. And Chris says, it's a good question, Ray Shervin. Golem only has 0.9 SCU of quantum fuel, and so it's going to need transportation, because it's basically it's a one jump type ship.
I didn't have to, because I went out to Waller and back. I didn't have a problem. But I'm going to be honest, I didn't try, say, do Arc Corp to Microtech or anything like that. So, yeah. And
within a planetary system, you're probably right.
You'd assume that, though, because it doesn't have internals either.
Yeah, that's right. It like this, and I think I said that to you. You know, the fact that it's got no internal puts it, and its components are all on the outside. It puts it down as a fighter, i.e., short range.
Yep. And it's a bit more like some of the Argo ships that hang around ports as well. I'm wondering if that. See, that's why I keep bringing that up, that RAF variant. I can't get that out of my mind. I'll have to wait and see.
No, because you need more of those double ups and those cargo unloading vehicles. And like I could see the salvage variant, being there just for helping clean up the rubbish of crashes and other stuff. So
I'm really interested to see where this lands, because I think it's going to dictate how they're feeling for the rest of the year. You know how they kind of go through periods where they're they're kind of generous, and then they retract a bit, and then we've had both. And I think lately, well, towards the end of last year, prices were kind of up a bit more than usual, because they really needed money. It felt like that anyway, because they didn't, all last year they were a bit more aggressive with the pricing, where the year before they were more generous. So I'm hoping they've gone back to more generous territory. So we'll see. Anyway, I like it. Basically got 48% of the vote on YouTube. I'm buying it at 37, and I hate it at 15. So I'm going to call that one there. But
yeah, I think most people are going to like it, and like I said, I would like it. But price is a major factor for me. It's just, and even if it was dirt cheap, I probably still couldn't get it at the moment. So, but that's life. That's a first world problem.
Right. Hook 2005 says, question, any ideas when the 4.1 PTU will hit, as in go to live? I'm assuming he's talking about that. I think the fact that it's in all waves is probably closer than we think. But again, we've also seen it sit in that for 2 to 3 months previously. So how long is a piece of string? But I think by Invictus would be having another patch before then, and that's not, what is that, a month or two? April, May. Yeah, so it's 2 months. 2 months away. I'd hope it's out by the end of this month. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. The fact that we've got a patch on the PTU at the moment probably says it's not coming today.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best we can give.
How do you know that there's a patch there, Algared?
Because action.
Oh, yeah. Well, you just watching my screen because I was updating. Yeah.
No, I'm updating myself.
All right. Okay. Right.
That's how I know there's a patch.
We're multitasking. Yeah. Anyway. Right. Next question. Carsten Kroger says, question. Oh, well, that was the same question, but from a different person.
Socially confused. Underhook had
Yep.
Do you think the Geo will be put into game stores as fast as the Atlas? And
We already
what
asked that one, didn't we?
cost be on the website?
What will the cost be on the website? Oh, I think we already talked about that one.
Yep.
It was already ticked as well, so I'm wondering why you're
No, it
reading.
wasn't. I just
Oh,
ticked
wasn't
it.
it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that. So I'm thinking about $40. Algared was thinking about
Yep.
$50.
And do we think it'll go into the in-game stores like the Atlas?
It would. How long did it take? It was 6 months. It was about 6 months. That's pretty standard these days for them to go in, no matter what they are. They, unless they're, I don't know, they still don't have. I don't believe you can pick a spirit up in game. But
Yep.
oh, that's another weird one. You can't pick up a terrapin, but you can pick up a medical terrapin. Because a medical terrapin, and it has been about 6 months. So yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
I've heard some people saying that they think 4.1 is far away because of bugs and stuff, but I think it's maybe closer. I'm as I said, I'm hopeful it's out by the end of the month, and that's when we'll get the Geo.
Yep. I think part of I could be totally off a track, but I think part of the reason when they're looking at the ships.
Really? Sorry, hang on.
Yeah,
So Socially Confused said Atlas was within a month. Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah.
but that's okay.
That surprised me. But again, it is pretty cheap. Maybe they just want to get it out there for testing. Sorry.
But I think there's also another factor that ties in. Like you can't get the Terrapin because the Terrapin's kind of seen as a military ship, but you can get the medical Terrapin because that's seen as a ship that's actually useful and helpful.
Do you think it
with
might
people
also
dying and needing healing and stuff? And so
you think it might be though more likely the Terrapin is not functional because of the scanning?
yeah. So there's those aspects as well where the full functionality of that ship is not in, so you don't put it into the store. So you're limiting the life of the ships that are out there. And because it's a military ship, it's only ever available at Invictus, and I think IAE, and everything becomes available. And so, but ships that are usable now, functional now, get put into the store quicker. Ships that aren't more military are more restricted, and I think that seems to fit. But anyway, moving on.
All right.
Joshua Raffensberger says, question.
Yep.
With the second Titan suit coming into the game, do you think a combat variant will show up this year, and do you think they will wait till they have a dropship for them, like in BattleTech?
A really good question. It would be a good thing to drop one and then, like, literally at the end of the sale, drop a dropship for those ones. Almost encourage you to go back and buy them.
You're forgetting we actually have one already.
I have then.
The Reclaimer. Fruitbot actually has a recharge station for a mech.
That is true. It does have that recharge port for a mech. The other thing
yes, I think one will come. Sorry. Go.
I found while perfusing the files today, was it yesterday or the day before? Anyway, sometime this week, was stuff on the Anvil. Was it the Asgard? Is that the one that I told you about? The Asgard? And it's looking like it is essentially a Valkyrie fuel transport refueler. So think a medium or a step down from the Starfarer. But a Valkyrie variant, essentially. Which makes a lot of sense now they're working on the Paladin. 2 for 1 sale. All Valkyries must go.
Now, that mean that because they're actually doing a refueling variant, because they're doing the refueling tech, that they'll actually come back and work on the Starfarer as well.
Don't get your hopes up.
So, that's a bit of hopium on my part.
Yeah, I think that's a massive hopium because they worked on the external of the Starfarer and they didn't even touch the inside. So they'd only work on the area they have to get that working. Yeah, so I'm just looking at here. It appears to be a variant of the Valkyrie AK Fortune to Prospector, as files are nearly exact replicas. It's got lines of code that talk about fuel deploy and fuel retract. They've added references to other ships like the Fury about a fuel open and a fuel closed. And just to reference something greater, that is a fuel port that can be gleaned from a leftover seat. So fuel port, yeah, it's basically multiple references to fuel ports, and the Asgard having the ability to deploy and retract, almost like the the beam thing, where all the others have like it's just called open close. It's like the port, but this one that she talks about deploy and retract. So yeah, implying that it's actually a refueler. Anyway.
Tech Rider.
Yeah, so the problem that I'm having with the stream, right, is essentially it reset everything again, and I was trying to get it to work haphazardly, and I got it working, so I just went with it. But to fix it on Twitch, I've essentially got to shut the whole stream down. I've been turning the bit rate down and down and down, and it's just not helping. I literally halved it now, and it's still having issues. So if you are having trouble on Twitch, I'd kindly ask that you just move over to YouTube for today, because I don't want to close the whole stream down, because then I've got to recreate everything. YouTube is very different. You can't just restart the stream and it goes straight back to where it was. You literally have to like create a profile and say what category it's in and all that on YouTube, and then it literally deletes it when it's finished. It's a real pain in the butt. No. Downloading would not stuff with the update speed. And just so you know, the update's been finished for like 5 minutes. I've got a very, very fast download speed. I can download the like 4 gig in less than like 30 seconds. So that's why I did it. Yeah, there's nothing downloading right now. Anyway, I don't know. What's your thoughts on them doing a ship Algared that's another Valkyrie kind of clone? I feel like it's a sellout. As I said, I felt bad when the Paladin felt like it was an upgrade, but now I know there's another one potentially coming.
Well, I think it goes into what the military guys have said in the past. Companies will often use the same chassis and then build and then reconfigure them for stuff, just because it makes it easier for repair and maintenance and logistics. So having a Valkyrie style refueling ship to me makes sense. It makes sense. It's not an issue. Would I like to see different looking ships or that size refueler come from a different manufacturer or something else? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's another ship giving variety, so I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just worried about them kind of like taking pre-existing ships and making more variants out of it. I don't know. I would have liked more bespoke stuff, especially when they sell them for a whole new price. That's just
yeah, and yeah, and I get that as well, and that's kind of the negative side. But when you're looking at it in terms of a game, if you're trying to make a believable game world, if you're looking at ships that are being used in the military, you'd expect them to be have a more uniform styling, and crossover, and using the same type of ammo instead of everyone using a different size ammo or every that type of thing. Having the same fuel type rather than having 3 or 4 different fuel types. All of those aspects come into your military logistics. So I could see why they would do that. And you look at the military first picking up the not the Genesis, the Starfarer G, and then doing that in collaboration, and then the military company coming in and building the smaller version for more better utility or better fitting into certain situations. I can see that. It makes sense. So I don't really mind as long as they don't stop doing new stuff. Gemini, thank you, Zenik or Zerek.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
I kind of generally prefer bespoke, but I know why they do duplicates, because it's just easier for them. But again, we're not getting new gameplay. But again, different teams, different features and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that need a programmer or someone that's a very specific programmer to get things done. So let's see.
And if it's just a refueler, it's not a harvester. So
Well, we don't
You
know
know
yet.
that.
We don't know.
So
All the only line of code there is the
it's that fact that it's got a retractable.
yeah beam thing. It could just be the way it refuels.
Yeah,
It could be something completely different. But it might just need a beam to refuel in flight. But again, the only thing that's got something like that is the Starfarer. So a smaller military refueler would be kind of cool. It kind of puts it in that Vulcan kind of wheelhouse, doesn't it? But we'll have to wait and kind of see.
Yep. And again, it's a slightly different method. It's at tech levels again. So you've got a physical tube as opposed to the drones doing it.
Our friend at CIG and other people I talked to at CIG have basically been saying that we should be really looking forward to the ships that come this year. And he basically said to us, he said, words to the effect of, I think he said it to me, but whatever. The Golem is really cool, and it's not even remotely close to my favorite ship that's coming this year. So
yep.
That kind of tells
you guys are in for a fun year.
Yeah,
is the types of comments we keep hearing.
Yeah, and they're really looking forward to what we're gonna say about when we talk about the ships and stuff. So
yep.
Yeah, so that's, if they're saying stuff like that, we don't hear that every day. We'll hear things like, "Oh, there's a cool ship coming," or stuff like that. That's all we hear. But when they're talking about like, there's just so much good stuff coming, man, I hope we're sitting pretty by the end of the year. It'd be interesting to look back and talk about this year as a whole.
Well, we for a couple of years we've been talking about the breaking of a dam. And if there's more stuff coming out, which links in with the gameplay that goes with it.
I think the dam's going to get a crack in it sometime in 2026 when Squadron hits. But I think it's going to take a little bit for it to kind of open up after that. But yeah, I think 2027 would be the year, the cracking of the dam year. Let's put it that way. So have to wait for that.
All right. So linked in with that conversation about reworking of a Gemini and that shit, we've got Mech Rider says, or Mecha Rider says, we expect rework on many ships, 600i, Starfarer, Reclaimer. Do you believe part of a ship team will be dedicated to work since it's been expanded with people from Squadron 42?
I think much like when we asked John about how the ships were dictated, like the ones they build, something comes down from design and they say, we need ship that does X. I think it would be the same thing. If they go, hey, we're working on salvage, can you add this to this, this, and this? Then they would go back and look at those things. So much like where they've added things to the Reclaimer and stuff like that, I do think eventually, though, before kind of the tricky one, I think the Reclaimer needs to be looked at before 1.0, because it's got a lot of connotations to what it does, but also I could see them leaving it to after 1.0 because there's other ships you can get away with. I think they're going to work more on the beginning game than the end game, but I still hope that they go back and do the Reclaimer. It's the same thing like the Starfarer. I think with the fuel thing coming out, functionally the Starfarer will work fine. It's a hot mess on the inside, but it still works, does it not?
It does.
And it's the same thing with the Reclaimer. If they don't add any more functionality to salvage, they don't really need to touch it.
Yep. But if they decide to change the way the Reclaimer supposedly works, then that might make them go, okay, we've got to fix this up.
Well, I think the most pressing issue with the Reclaimer is that it can't dock. That's the biggest issue right now. Yeah. If we were talking about like right in the game right now. Because it can do everything else the other salvages do, it just can't. It's a pain in the ass. You got Grim Hex and you got all the land areas. Now it technically works and you can get it in game and do that, but that's just an annoyance you have to deal with. And if they want to kind of put it on par, they want to bring everything up to par, kind of like that gold pass to the 1.0 level, that's what it needs.
Yeah, you're probably right. The fact that it needs to give it that usability in game at the moment, that's the huge quality of life aspect that it's missing. But yeah. George Smith has a question. What device do you think we will use to charge the battery for the Geo? USB.
I think you could have multiple options eventually. You could have solar panels. You could have, there's the battery recharges that we've seen at landing zones.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there'll be multiple options like there is of everything eventually. Think about Squadron 42, where we saw them putting things into charging stations and stuff like that as well. And some of that tech will roll over, obviously. So, yeah.
Yep, no, 100%. You know, whether you've got a little cord you plug in, or whether you hook the pack up or pull the battery out and plug it into a charger. Either way, they'll do something, but it'll be multiple ways to do that, into whether it's solar or geothermal. A Shinobi trip.
Oh, but hang on. We continue. Coria says the coolest elevator by far is the one on the Corsair, as it takes you to the roof. That's a very good elevator.
Yeah, I would go with that.
Yeah, that's a very good one. So yeah, let us know in the comments or in a question, whatever, your favorite elevator per the title, because there are some very good elevators in this game.
Given that most elevators, if you're talking planetary elevator, because they kind of use the Wonka elevator, where I go. My favorite is actually the transit system on Hurston. Because if you just miss the train and the doors are closed and you keep walking to a train, it teleports you into the train.
Mandrid says, I just jumped in. I don't know what the stream is about, but my favorite elevator is the one that works. Yeah, that's...
Yeah. My least favorite one is the one that drops me through the earth. Help me, I'm falling.
Yeah. All the ones that open into the void and you say...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, never enter an elevator if it's black or void.
Yeah.
Step back, let it close, let it open again. Once you see the interior, then walk in.
And you're
movie usually safe.
I think of a movie with Jim Carrey, and I could be wrong, but he walks into an elevator and the dog's there, and with the lead, and the dog trying to get the dog to back up, and he fails and he falls down and dies or something, and he comes back as a ghost or something. I can't remember the movie. Might not even be Jim Carrey, but anyway. Yeah, that's just what I thought of when he was saying that. But anyway, yeah.
All right.
We've only got 5 questions left. I've got a feeling, yeah, that's what it is. The bot's dead. I'll open it again. I've seen under Piggles about that. Let's try it again. See if we can get some more questions. Sending command, starting invoked. Let's see if more questions come in. Yeah, we've had a lot of troubles with the bot of late, just crashing and stuff. But Piggles is working on.
Yeah, I thought it had crashed at 9 o'clock in our time and typed in a question, and yeah, it was working. But I wonder is when it's left idle for too long, where it shuts itself off.
Maybe that might be what it is. I don't know. But we are not getting any. So there's a question here by Spicy SC07 that doesn't seem to have come in. So I'm going to do that now. He says, I know you've mentioned in the previous streams, but remind me, have you heard of anything about the Raelian? No, we have not officially heard anything about the Raelian. It's just that when it was talked about going into production was 18 months ago, and we know the ship pipeline is 18 months. So there's a high likelihood it could come at Alien. Doesn't mean it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
And quick look.
And the bot has died again. There is definitely something wrong with the bot right now. We might have to go to Q&A mode, Algared.
So and just to go back to our talk on the golem, Sylvia said, or Sylvia said, they're buying it regardless of price. So in answer to that one question, there's at least one person who absolutely, utterly loves the crap out of it and intends to buy it.
Yep.
Complicated says, Asgard, any news?
Well, we just talked about that a minute ago.
We literally just talked about it.
It looks like it's a Valkyrie. You know, the prospect to the Fortune. It's like that for the Valkyrie, but it's a refueler. So I think Starfarer, but made by Anvil. So like a military refueler. That's. Well, there's just one thing in the file that talks about a beam that goes out and retracts. That's basically it at this point. So yeah. Right. All right. I'm going to start up a Q&A because I reached out to Piggles, but he hasn't replied. He is online, but I'll do the Q&A in the meantime. We're going to always close down the Q&A if need be. So I'm going to start a Q&A on YouTube. Again, if you are on Twitch, I do apologize, but it cannot be helped. Say something. Ask us a question. And then goes, that's... All right, there we go.
Yep. So Shinobi Trip has a question, and it's one that I do like, related to the golem. I like the way he's picked up the Lotro spelling of golem, not golem. But they said, why couldn't it be made by Grey Cat? And I'll be honest, I actually think Grey Cat is the better company to put out. Grey Cat or Misk would have been the two better companies to do a mining variant, or a mining ship, just because that is, mining is Grey Cat's bread and butter. That is where they come from. That is 100% Grey Cat. Grey Cat goes into another area, it's out of their normal purview. I've always seen Drake as being salvage, their primary purview. So when they move out of salvage and go into mining, that's going out of their normal purview. So I would have liked to see more ships that come from companies that are inherently linked to that that area of expertise or that industry, before we start branching out into other companies that are breaking into. But at the end of the day, CIG thought that ship looked like a Gower, and using the back end of a cutter, which I think they started from, said is why it's Drake.
Yeah, it's got a few things in there. Cutter, mule. It's good. I'm happy. Right.
But as we said,
no questions on the Q&A on YouTube yet. And we've only got 3 questions left. So if you've already asked a question since the bot crashed, please try and put it in on the Q&A so we can get to it. All right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, with the like, as we said in the episode, we think that the golem started life from the cutter, but then it bashed from everything else. But I think the fact that it started from a cutter is why it's a Drake, not Grey Cat or anyone else. Red Marine. I came a little late. Have you already speculated on the price of a golem? Yes, we've answered that question.
Yep.
Chris, we've answered that question. Caltemp says, do you think that the standard container size with the golem, do you think it will kill Corp Ops Prospector with non-standard bags?
I think the advantage is you actually have additional bags that you can take with you on the Prospector. You do not have that option on the golem. So essentially, you can't, like with a Prospector, if you find a big rock, so to speak, you could mine and leave the pods behind, drop a beacon that you can come back to, right? You're not going to be able to do that on this. You're just going to, if it's not there, you've just got to either drop a beacon and come back and grab it yourself and hope someone else hasn't mined it or whatever. So I think you got a bit more options with the Prospector, and it obviously works with the Expanse. We don't have any inkling at all. Like, this definitely can't work with the Expanse because of the shape of the pods, right? So you got to look at that and go, well, does that mean there's a refinery ship coming by Drake, or what? So, yeah.
Or do they just take it back to Station Refinery or somewhere else? Or do you take the containers to a Galaxy, and the Galaxy can siphon the stuff out of a box and put it into refineries? But I was about to say, one of the big advantages with the Prospector is not only do you drop the bags off, but they're the perfect size to work with the Expanse. And the Expanse spits out the empty bags as well. So you could have an Expanse sitting there with you, and you could be constantly doing stuff and refining as you're going. And that's a huge advantage.
I would say, inkling wise though, considering the bags on this are 16 and not 18, I would hope that means that if they do make a Drake refinery, that it's bigger than the Expanse, because it's got bigger bags to deal with, right? So that also possibly implies that you could be getting a bigger Drake miner as well. Because, like, I don't know how many bags it would have, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, it's a bit weird that the smallest one has just 2 massive bags, right? So, and if they're making a refinery, you've got to assume that they're making a whole system, so it's somehow interconnected. And again, the bags on the mole and the expanse are compatible, but they're not the same. They're, essentially one's made. I think they're both made by Miss. Oh, I'd have to go check. It's been a hot minute, but they are different sizes. So,
and the other thing is that you were saying earlier that the Drake bags, when they talked about in the that those bags will work with all other Drake mining type blah 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 blah. So
implying there's
it gives it gives an indication that this bag is going to be suitable for other systems that Drake are bringing out. So
I do hope that maybe the connectors between the Drake bags and the Expanse might work somehow, but the way they it doesn't look like there's a lot of space, so I'll have to kind of wait and see when that comes out. Obviously, there'll be, besides the usual will it fit question at the top of the Q&A, they're the type of things that we would like to know. So, like, are the saddlebags compatible between the Expanse and etc.?
That's a good will it fit question.
Yeah.
Not will it fit in? Not will it fit ship it somewhere, but what bags fit?
How many golems can I fit in the Polaris? Like, it is kind of cool. You can fit at least 10, but like, again, you can find that shit out on your own. You don't need to waste that on a Q&A question. But come on.
The will it fit question that really matters is the bags question.
Yeah.
How many bags can I fit? How many? How does it interact with other refinery ships? Or
why would I want the golem over the prospector or vice versa? Like, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Because that's the shit you want as in a purchasing decision. Not can I fit 10 of them in a. Sorry, I really hate, if you can't tell, I am so over will it fit questions because they are so damn obvious. Once you know the size in meters, lengthwise, you can work it out anyway. You just don't need all that stuff. You do it in Hanger Link. At least you don't even need to get into the game. You do it in Hanger Link, but crazy. Anyway.
But yeah, I 100% agree with you. I hate that question, but in terms of the cargo capacity, because it's so separate, that's an important one to look at.
All right, we got a couple of questions on Twitch, so I'm gonna kind of grab those because I know they're there before they drop off the screen because they're not coming through because of the bot. So Sandgroper says, do we know why we don't have ISC or SC live this week? Because we had it behind the ships, and it was actually behind the Titan suit, which was for the Geo. That's what we got instead. And then Happy Boy Paddington says, if there is a combat Atlas mech with jump capability, what exciting ship do you think would suit the best as a drop carrier? I think we'll eventually get one. I think you're in for multiple combat suits. Think medium, light, heavy, much like you have the medium, light, heavy armor. The lighter ones could probably jump really far, where the heavy ones can take extra bullets, but also the medium one, the heavy one can probably have a bigger gun or maybe even 2 guns, right? So you need to start to look at things like that, where the light one's probably just got like a sniper rifle or even a pistol. It'll be a Titan-sized pistol, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? So I think that's a really... Well, think Titanfall. If you ever played Titanfall, I think that they have just gone... One of the things I've noticed, I think you'd agree with me, Algared, is they're just taking all this shit from every game they possibly can and are chucking it in. And I think eventually it will be this really cool universe that just has everything.
Oh, one of my nephews, when he first saw the game, his comment was, this is just like Titanfall. And that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was just the ability to walk in the ship, run around, and do whatever he was doing. And since then, we've had a crap ton of stuff drop that's even pulled back loads of those, the contested zones. Just really to pull that into those FPS type first-person shooter games. So, like you said, they're pulling stuff in from different games and applying it, and I reckon it's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It means you can go to your own little corner of the universe and have a different scenario. You can have your extraction shooter planet. You can have your team deathmatch planet. Like, you could literally have all those different game modes in there. You can have Battlefield, Call of Duty, like just in different scenarios and different planets and stuff like that. So, and that's just when I'm talking about first-person shooters, and then you roll that out to ships and racing and all the type of other things that can come along the way. Any scenario they can come up with, they can make it almost like a repetitive quest as well. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yep.
All right. So we'll do one on YouTube now. This one is by Rayo Mateo, who says, "What would the Asgard cost? Vulcan cost is 200, Gemini is 350, and Valkyrie is 375." If it stays as a military one, I think that kind of keeps the price a little bit more up. But I think it would have less functionality than a Valkyrie, so I'd still think it's cheaper. This is a complete guess because we don't know functionality or anything like that. But I think Algared, you'd probably agree with me, it would be in the 250 to 350 ballpark. But I think it would have to be cheaper again because it would be small. The Starfarer is a large. This is clearly a medium, so it's a whole size down.
And then and one way you can look at the difference is look at the...
I'm just going to go 250, 300. I think that's the safest bet.
Yeah,
sorry.
And you could look at the price of a Starfarer and a Starfarer G and go, okay, that's the difference from standard to military. And then do the size down aspect, and then look at standard Valkyrie, and then add back kind of free version price on top. But as you said, we don't know what functionality it's got. Is it also supposed to be a harvester? It's supposed to be just a straight up refueler, and that's we don't know yet.
Right. Do one of the one. We've got 3 left on there on or a couple left on the bot. So you want to grab those real quick? Which one were you up to?
Do you want to also? Yep, and then we'll pick up Pappy Boynton's on Twitch.
Yep. Oh, we already did that. We've already done that one.
Papa Combat Atlas.
Yep.
Okay. Caltep says, question: do you think with a standard container size with a golem? Do you think now we've done that one? Sorry, my mistake. I forgot to get it. Caldoom says, does the golem have an interior? No.
It does not.
It's just a cockpit, and all your components are accessible from the outside. It does have a small storage box, and it does have 2 weapon racks, which to me made me think. With that I thought, ground mining, cave mining, where I went with that. And Rune Holmgren says, could you wish player Onlaka's cat's happy birthday? Via Zelda and Tontoro. Okay, happy birthday, Zelda and Tontoro.
If I had a cat here, I'd get the cat to speak cat and say happy birthday, but they're not here.
Old Man Hurston says he likes flat cats.
Flat cats? What?
You remember? You were obviously forgetting way back in about 2014, 2015. CIG talked about flat cats.
Okay.
And it became certainly within my org, it became one of the things that were the rage. So flat cats.
Yeah.
There've probably been cats that have been engineered by Rayari. Rayari do evil things.
Sorry, just having a laugh on Twitch with a couple. What is there? Anyway. Right. Okay. Next question here. Again, we're down to 4 questions now, guys. So please feel free to submit them via the Q&A on YouTube or chuck them in Twitch, and we'll just pull them out manually because the bots shut itself.
On Twitch, do make sure you put the brackets and questions, so or make sure questions there clearly so we can see it.
Yeah. All right. So this is by Socially Confused, who says, are there any space elevators in SC lore or plans to add them into the game? Kinda. And I'll see if I can find a picture of it. Hang on. It is. I'm not going to pull it up if I can't actually find it. Nope. Damn it, I can't find it. Space. Nope. No, I can't find it. There's an image. from way, way, way back in the beginning. It's like a concept image. But essentially, they're almost like these giant space snakes that come up like this out of the atmosphere, and they're Vandal, and they're essentially these giant space elevators by the Vandal, and they almost look like space snakes. They come out of the ground and out of the planet, and I can't find the image. There's only one image of it, and it's a highly concept-like image, and I can't find it. But yeah,
I could see that as being part of their vacuum system for sucking the planets dry. But
yeah, it was a part of that, to be honest with you. But that's the only one I know about. What about you, Algared, in law? Do you know anything about space elevators, Star Citizen? Nope.
nope, no. I could see that space. If there were any, I'd expect them on systems like Earth. But then knowing that Earth is supposed to at some point be raised by the Vandal, a bit like Rome, being hit by the Vandals, I would expect any of those types of things to have destroyed. So you'd have a wreckage space elevators, I think. But I can't think of any others that have got them, and I would expect they are on planets that also. I wouldn't be surprised if they're on the low planets with low atmosphere and the low, the way like you have to get to 40,000 or 100,000 clicks out on say Hurston to get into space. I'd expect it to be on planets that have a small atmosphere, but I don't know of any.
I'm coming up short. It's really funny because the last time I searched for this to show it on stream or on an episode, I found it instantly. Now I can't find it at all. So it's definitely based to what I was searching previously, but I probably should have saved it multiple times now. I'll probably go look for it later and try and find it, but yeah, I can't find it right now. But yeah, that's the only one I can think of. So yeah. Right. So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, you can believe me or not. Right. Citizen Ninja down to 3 questions. So if you get some more in, that would be great, please, guys. Or hey, we get to end an hour early today. Right. Citizen Ninja says, with the upcoming release of the Golem, should the Prospector 8 SCU cargo bags get upgraded to the Mole's 12 SCU cargo bags to create some more separation between them? Capacity increases from 32 to 48. Depends on price, man.
Yep.
It really depends on price. And when a system is already in, I would say it's easier to move the price than upgrade the bags and upgrade the ship and all that. So I think you'll find that it'll dictate that the Drake is Golem is cheaper.
Yep. No, I would like to think that they'll keep the bags the same and the Drake down to be a cheaper.
Yeah.
Rather than do double work and modify the Prospector. Because then people say, "Oh, are you going to modify the mole or give the mole more bags because so there's a whole changing the bags on the Prospector has ramifications and a run-on for say the mole or other vehicles that my thought would be no. Dangra, but no, a flat cat does not involve.
Right. Aiden is the next one. Aiden asks a question. Could the Ironclad be available during the Workers' Week event? If not, could it probably be available at Invictus, as I'm going to buy one when it's available to buy, etc. Armored freight version. So the assault. That's what he's trying to say. Unless I'm mistaken. Is that how you read that? Armored freight version? The freight version is technically the Ironclad, but the armored one is technically the assault. So I don't know which one he means there. Yes, it could be at Workers' Week as well. But I think it's more likely to come at Drake Defense Con. But I do think we're getting the Ironclad over the Perseus. Yep. If I had to pick between the two, we're getting both big ships this year. Which one would come where? I think the Ironclad is easily the front runner because it essentially started production sooner, so therefore it ended sooner, so therefore it's more likely to come out first. And I think from that we could safely say that, and I think you'll agree with me, mate.
Yeah, I would expect the any of the Drake ships at DefenseCon, but Drake's version of Invictus. I would I could see the golem being at Workers' Week. I don't think I could see um the Ironclad. The Ironclad just doesn't seem to be a Workers' Week. It's yeah. But,
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
I think the Workers' Week was really made to sell things that were more like, you know, the Endeavour and the industrial ships like the Prospector and stuff like that we don't see because they're non-military. It's clearly a gap. They essentially just want to copy the same sale from IAE to Invictus, but they decided to make it law-based and make it military, and now they're realizing their mistake and they're just trying to do it so it does everything. And then they're obviously trying to spread it out a little bit as well. So you'll have Workers' Week, Invictus, and then Alien Week. Personally, what I would have done is I would have split the sales so they were every 3 months. And so you could have had Workers' Week, then you could have had Invictus, then you could have had Alien Week, and then you could have had AIE, and just go all the way around, and there's a sale every 3 months. But hey, I'm not the one running the show. So yeah.
Yep.
Right. Next question. Let me close this one. That was Aiden. So up to Chorus. We've got two. Oh, another one just came in. So question. So this is from Chorus, who says, is it confirmed that the regular Argo Atlas is getting the same jump thrusters as the Geo? Now, I haven't tested it, but I did say this earlier from people that I've talked to, is it's not jetpacks like the Geo, but it stops you from falling. So it's like a thruster pack. I don't know what else to call that. So it just stops. So if you fall off something, it'll stop you, like it'll lower you down if you came off a cliff, but it doesn't actually allow you to jump. So again, I have to get in and test that myself. I have not had the opportunity, but that's what I've been told. So yeah. Algared, I think.
Yep. So if you can get it into a pit, you may have your Atlas stuck down the bottom of the pit, and then need to use a tractor beam to get it back up. Hopefully.
That'd be cool if you could just look at the ground, attach to the ground, and then push yourself up like it's on a stick.
Yep, that'd be nice, wouldn't
it? Like a reverse grapple hook. That'd be sick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. I'll close that one. That was Chorus. Spicy. Takes a little bit longer, this. Spicy SCO7 says, quick follow-up to the Raelian question. You said it went into production 18 months ago. What is the source for that? It was on an ISC. That's all I remember. And no, I can't tell you exactly which one because they named them stupidly. It was essentially around about the same time as the Apollo was mentioned. It was a week or so after, is all I remember. It was very close at the same time period as that.
Yeah. And I remember when they were doing that, they were showing, if my memory is correct, they were showing us the internals of what they were looking at and showing us the concept art of what they imagined the internals were, and doing one of the things that makes the Raelian unique is the fact that it's got living quarters that are Xi'an, that cater for Xi'an as well as humans. So you've got, you know, the shower recess has a scratching post type thing that the Xi'an use.
Yeah. I think the other thing Algared will say is we're just telling the ones that are potentially coming because of the timeline. It doesn't mean it is definitely coming. I'm just trying to say this could be possibly coming because the Raelian's one people haven't mentioned for years, right? And it's on that timeline that when they said it, because it was so essentially I remember them talking about the Saulian, and they said after we start, now the Saulian's out, we're going to start production on the Raelian. And I definitely remember that, and then I think I vaguely remember they showed a grey box of it like a week later or something like that, but I could be wrong on that. But they definitely talked about it going into production, and then that generally means 18 months after that. So yeah, right.
And that's assuming they don't have to stop for one reason or another, or a block of years, or any of those types of reasons. But in general.
All right, we're going to have a very short stream today because we're down to the last question. And this is by Rael Matau again, who says, does the Golem have an emergency payload ejection button? In that case, the Quantanium explodes like the Prospector. I think it's got some kind of sorting thing because it's got these like a grill on it. So I think you might be able to push out certain materials that you don't want, but I don't know how the filtering on that's going to work because again, you'd have to set up the whole HUD and all that type of thing. But yeah, if you pick up Contanium, yeah, well the timer now has been increased to half an hour, so you'd still be able to put your Atlas in your ship and then take off and whatever. It's really funny though when I take Algared out, if I just leave him and he blows himself up because he can't get in the ship, that'd be funny as hell. Like, no. Well, you just get out of it, wouldn't you, and let it explode?
Well, we are talking the Golem, not the Geo.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Does the Golem have an emergency payload ejection button in case the container? I don't know. Does it explode? I didn't know the Prospect had an emergency ejection button.
Most
Most
of the ships do have that cargo eject. I would expect a cargo eject on the Golem.
Okay.
Because you can do that on the others.
It must be something I haven't
But
noticed because I've never tried it.
But does the Golem have a filtering system like the Prospector? I wouldn't mind it if it didn't, because the more things you put the same, the more you push the price up to the same as the Prospector.
John
The less
Citizen,
versatile it is, the more the price comes down. So.
John Citizen, if you're listening, can you please let me know in chat if that is the case, if they all do have the ejection thing? I'd like to know that because I have not done that in a hot minute. Right. Well, that is the end of the questions for today. I now need to look for someone to raid on Twitch really quick. Do you want to tell people what's coming out on the weekend, Algared? Do you know what's coming out on the weekend?
No.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Unless we're talking about...
Video with the Morph. Video with Morph.
I was just about to say, unless we're talking about the Morph episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this weekend or this week, we will have the Morph episode. An episode that X and I really enjoyed.
So
we started off looking at resources.
Traditionally, they view terribly because we enjoy
them. They do. So statistically, the episodes we think this is awesome. The ones that don't track well at all. It started looking at resources and how resources and the variations of resources that could come. But that also went into then why you would transport animals to different planets, and then looking at the whole science aspects. So it went into science and exploration.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the one that I think Morph enjoyed. It was one we certainly enjoyed.
Yeah.
So yeah, watch it and tell us how much Crazy Town we're
on. There's a new person here that I'm thinking about streaming because I don't see anyone that we really know on. They do Dutch and English. So I think we might raid them just for something different.
Sorry.
7 raid. So I'll get that ready. I'm gonna bring up Twitch over here so we can see them where we raid. And we'll switch it over so you guys can see too. They're a new person. They are playing. Oh, they're definitely playing in Dutch. Oh, I got an ad. Right.
Typical.
But yeah. So Twitch. Yeah. Ask her what her favorite elevator is. See if you can actually answer. That'd be kind of funny.
Your favorite elevator in Star City?
Yeah. We'll go from there. How long we got left on these ads? 40 seconds. That's a long amount of time.
Yep.
All right. We'll just send Twitch over now. So yeah, Twitch say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube say goodbye to Twitch. Hopefully you're getting there just as this ad is about to. Oh man, I've still got 20 seconds. I have to wait because otherwise we'll get there and we're gonna miss everything she's gonna say, stuff like that. But so you
gotta wait for that.
Yeah. Apologies for that are watching because this is boring as shit. But if you're on YouTube, yeah.
Play the lift music. You lift music.
Yes. It was for God. How many ads? I didn't know there's this many ads. All right, 5 seconds. All right, here we go. Twitch to go better. YouTube. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not even speaking English anymore. We'll see you guys next week on Twitch. All right, bye now.
Bye. Goodbye, guys.
All right, Twitch is off and. Oh, she said, speaking both.
Definitely in touch.
haben es zu wenige benutzt und dann haben die es runtergenommen.
Hmm. Wunderbar.
I
like that.
noticed.
Yeah. I think she's singing more than saying hello. Oh.
God, I hope.
All right. We'll switch back over for that one. All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week. Sorry for all the issues with the stream and that. I'll get it sorted hopefully for next week. And we will back to the register schedule program. I think after this MQ&A.
Yeah.
Right. With that, then don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that. Oh, God, now that's not working either.
Yep, don't forget to hit that button.
Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and nothing's working. That's not working. Oh,
No, it's not.
Man, everything's broken. Right. So
All right. So don't forget to go down below, hit that bell button.
You see that? It came up for a second and then disappeared again.
Yep. Well, I didn't see it. I saw a flash though, but
yeah. Like I can't make up this
but yeah, like, subscribe, hit that bell. It gives us a warm fuzzy. It helps us break the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't like doing weird things. We had several people say, "Congratulations on 17,000." We've actually broke 17,000 several times.
Yeah, it goes up and down, up and down.
And it goes up and down and up and down. So we'll do a happy dance when we get to 20K.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone that went the extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. All right, with that then, he's been Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.